Hello. My name is Neil. I'm an energy engineer, and I've been with New Ecology for 7 years now. Still my first job out of college, and a big thank you to Ed for taking a chance on me. I think it's paid off really well. Monitoring and optimizing are both things that, as a super data-focused company, we've been doing all along, gathering as much data on a building as we can in order to shape how we approach and lead a building through a more efficient renovation. But then about 5 years ago, I had my first steps into the project that we now call REMO, Remote Monitoring and Optimization. At that time, we were focusing on heating systems, domestic hot water systems, and tightening up how these systems were performing. 5 years ago, I was packing up a cooler every morning with sandwich supplies for my buddy Cody and myself. And I'd walk out my apartment door carrying a classic wobbly tower full of boxes of wire, temperature sensors, and monitoring devices. Our goals were to save energy and also to not pass out in a 105-degree mechanical room. And every time that there was, in fact, a door that led from that mechanical room out to the fall fresh air, that was a little miracle in 2014 for me. At the time, we'd walk into a building with very little info, and we need to figure out there on the spot what we should be monitoring, how to install it, and hope that we can get it all wired and operational before we have to complete this same dance at a second mysterious site that same day. +20 years ago, a building would have a super, and I like to think they'd be sitting in this chair right here. They would live in the building, operate those systems, hear complaints. They would feel and live and try to fix those complaints. And over the course of a career with a building, you'd have a super and a building who had reached a level of understanding and mutual respect which no one else possessed. These days, we've seen maintenance positions becoming jobs with higher rates of turnover, and maintenance staff being responsible for a larger number of buildings. Plus, we have the still ongoing transition to almost every device in a mechanical room being smart or connected in some way. This means that for most buildings, we're seeing systems become more complex and increasingly finicky at the same time that maintenance personnel are being stretched too thin to have time to be able to actually listen to a building and understand how it works. What we set out to do with REMO was save energy. We knew it was out there to be saved, and we've been successful at collecting those savings. What we didn't see early on is how we would become the stewards of a building's knowledge along the way. How we'd become like a virtual super. REMO lives in the building, soaking up the knowledge and understanding of a building. And like a super, it also has memory. For buildings that no longer have that long-term staff position, or for owners whose staff need to cover more territory, we're able to help them construct the knowledge that it takes to get and keep their system coordinated, keep their fancy new equipment communicating and working together. 5 years ago, many of you in the room who trusted us with your buildings may have been thinking that we were the next in a long line of folks trying to install something else in your mechanical room, trying to get things working together. But now, 5 years later, I can see how we're becoming really a long-term ally of those operating the building. And we're doing that by keeping it simple, telling the story of what we're seeing, what it means to us, what we're changing, and what we think the result will be. Those have all been important pieces to New Ecology's process, and being open and outward with the wealth of knowledge we've been able to gain has already impacted how a building is managed, repaired, and upgraded. Monitoring and optimization started with the goal of saving energy, and energy savings are going well. And so too is the sharing of information back to owners, back to operators, to help us all hear what this building is really saying to us.